Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whatever time you are listening to us. Welcome to another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast. My name is Edson Ochoa, and ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about the Toros. First of all, thank you all for coming back after a week hiatus. Unfortunately, last week it was a very busy schedule for me regarding work. I actually had to stay maybe like around 7:30, like Wednesday and Thursday. So it was, and with a short turnaround to Friday's game, it was going to be almost impossible to actually be able to do a show with such a short turnaround. But we're back after Friday's game against Monterey Bay FC Union. We will be talking about that. We will be talking, obviously, your favorite Quema no Quemaca. Got some questions from some of the fans. By the way, if you guys that are listening right now on YouTube, on Twitch, or on Facebook, if you guys have any questions you want to ask us regarding the Toros, be sure to go ahead and let us know. And we will gladly be able to answer your questions when we do have an opportunity, if we have an opportunity during the show. So, but before we start, I want to go ahead and invite you over to listen to the podcast version, in case you ever miss any portion of the show, which are available on Spotify for podcasters, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Amazon Music, or wherever your favorite podcasting platform is. And if you're listening from one of those platforms, usually every Wednesday at 8 p.m., we go live on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@downinthevalley, or actually at Down in the RGV. But without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome our good friend and co-host of the show, Jacob Young. Jacob, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to talking some soccer. It's going to be fun, and yeah, can't wait.
And before we talk about that, what an interesting weekend we had outside of soccer. I mean, you had a very eventful weekend in Austin as well. You were there at the Xfinity race, the truck race, Sunday at in the Cup Series race, where I went ahead and was able to join you. Tell us about those experiences real quick.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's see here. Was even on Friday, got there in time to watch the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series practice and qualifying. That was fun. And then Saturday was a very, very fun day, a long day, but very fun. Got to watch both races that were filled with some excitement. 100%. Truck Series best series, by the way, but it was an experience that I will never forget, especially for, well, yeah, it was just Saturday, of course, and enjoying it. And crazy enough, getting to see some people that I didn't expect to see that weekend on Saturday. Besides you, Edson, expected to see you there, but didn't expect to see some spotters, of course, because in NASCAR you have to have spotters. If not, well, I don't think any driver is ever going to get out of there alive half the time. But then, yeah.
And even with spotters, look what ended up happening in the Cup Series.
Exactly, and that's what I was about to get to. Sunday, yeah, very, very fun, very crazy day meeting up with you. You were gracious enough to think of me to get ourselves some VIP passes from, I believe, your friend that works for a construction business or something like that.
His family owns the business.
There we go. His family owns the business, and that's how it all worked out.
Yeah, huge thank you to my good friend Eric Weiss. Good friend of us, a good friend of the PO podcast with Justin and Josh. That's how I was able to meet him. But yeah, thanks a lot for getting us that unforgettable experience.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely won't ever forget that. I mean, a couple of times I was able to sneak my way around even with the VIP pass, get past how much we were able to see a little bit, and that was a dream come true. 100% will never forget it and recommend to. But as long as they have the 2024 race, go back there as well. And even if any regular oval races, I know people hate oval racing for some strange reason. It's one of the most exciting, but any NASCAR race, any even not open wheel, but like anytime you're able to catch a race that's sanctioned by NASCAR or IMSA or even IndyCar, even pay the extra $20 to get yourself a pass like that because it's 100% worth it. You can see cars and drivers up close and meet a couple of them, and it's pretty wild and pretty insane.
And obviously, I mean, the environment is pretty fun with people tailgating and all of that. I honestly enjoyed it. I was there for the last 2 years as well. I can't wait for next year, probably without the VIP pass. But it's a one in a lifetime experience that we were able to see. And I think from here on out, it was just a fun weekend. Unfortunately, our weekend, or at least my weekend, did not start at such a high note. Actually, it didn't end on a high note either, with freaking Daniel Suarez losing his shit and bumping Alex Bowman on pit lane. But that's neither here nor there. This is not a racing podcast. Where I was getting at, this weekend didn't start off really well when it comes to freaking sports, because RGV FC had a Friday game, surprising, a Friday game against Monterey Bay FC Union. It was a very important match, as I talked to Ray before the game, because RGVFC, before the season started, they harped a lot about taking advantage of as many points as possible, especially with their 3-game home stretch at HEB Park. Going into that game, you only had 2 out of 6 points possible. And Wilmer Cabrera said that they were trying their hardest to get a victory against Monterey Bay FC Union, improve on many of the issues that they saw in the last couple of games. And he felt that getting 5 out of 9 would probably be a sigh of relief, or at least for them to kind of not go into panic mode. Yeah. Considering the fact that they are going to be, they were at home to start the season, and unfortunately for RGVFC, and we're going to be talking about this, it just didn't pan out. It just didn't pan out for RGV. So right off the bat, you go in with the starting lineup. Huge shout out to Mike Reyes and Abraham Moreno. What's up, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. So, right off the bat, you've got your starting 11 that was released by RGVFC, and which you had. Obviously, there weren't a lot of changes. I honestly, if I dare say, this was the formation in which RGVFC ended against Oakland, and now we're trying to start it against Monterey Bay FC Union, which was the line of 5. We had Tyler Derrick on goal. You had Jonathan Ricketts, Wahab Akwe, Eric Pimentel, Frank Nodarce, Robert Coronado. That's your line of 5. And you got in the middle, you've got Gringo Torres and Taylor Davila. And up top, you had Wilmer Jr., Cristiano Francois, and Ricky Reese as your starting 11. The biggest surprise, though, Jacob, no Juan David Cabezas, not even in the 18. And obviously, you've got to add no Pinzon, no Benitez, no Frank Lopez, no Michael Knapp, and no Juan Galindres yet.
Yeah, I mean, one of those players, I'm going to admit it, not too shocking to not be in the starting 11. And or not even on the bench, too. And that is Juan David Cabezas. I'm sorry, Mr. Injury Prone is what I call him. So him not being there was not too much of a shocking issue. You get one game with this man, and then all of a sudden he's got to have treatment and be out for about a week or two. I know it's a little harsh, but how many times have we seen him out where we saw him healthy a week before? Multiple times. We saw it with the Houston Dynamo. We saw it here. So it's 100% true that, or sorry, I'm spitting actually false news in that sense of it's not 100% true that that's probably what's going on. But my point is, it's just we see it time and time again, and it's him. It's his nature to show up, be there, and then not show up another game at all because he might be nursing an ankle injury or something like that he's picked up throughout his years of service in multiple soccer leagues, basically. So this is one of the players, of course. But other than that, having a lot of heavy hitters still out in general, of course, never helps in general, whether or not they're on the bench. It's just that force of you have to play a lot of younger players on the field at a different time or to just start the game. You have a couple of players that have their caps instead of the seniors that you signed.
Harry.
What's up, Harry? Just shout out to him real quick. He does a cool podcast, and he does one thing every year with the soccer, with the high school soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the round table, and the San Antonio round table.
I was on it last year, and just to let you all know, McAllen School is creaming the 31-5A or 32-5A for girls soccer, as I expected. So yeah, shout out to him. If they didn't do that, if they picked all Brownsville schools, I feel bad for y'all.
Ouch. But besides all of that, Harry Austin also apparently does dad jokes. He says, "For Christmas, I am getting Edson and Jacob a tie. LOL." Well, I mean,
he's not wrong right now, so it might be a little funny to him, but hey, it's still better than a loss, so we could have 0 points right now in this entire standing.
Okay, Wilmer. We'll talk about that later on. You'll understand why. But no, Harry, thank you so much for hopping on today to learn more. I know you've been here. You've been a true fan of RGV. Of the Down in the Valley podcast for so many years that I think it's time to make you an honorary Toros fan, because San Antonio fan is more interested about learning about this team than many Toros fans here in the Rio Grande Valley. So what does that say? But that means he's a closet RGV fan, even though he denies it.
You might deny it, dude, but we all know it's true. You don't have to say it. We all know it. We'll wait for you to come out of the closet when you're ready.
Wow. Actions speak louder than words, my friend. But okay, where was I going at? So yes, so Juan David Cabezas, you can, like you just mentioned, yeah, it's something that you say, okay, yeah, it's expected. He's an injury-prone player. Even when he was younger, he was injury-prone. Much right now, like imagine right now at his age, of course he's going to be a little bit more injury-prone. Yeah, he brings the experience, but what good is that experience going to do when you don't have him out there on the field? I guess you can say that. You might as well take advantage the minutes that he is going to be able to get. But my question is, because we know Juan Galindres has visa issues. We know Gabriel Benitez has visa issues. How long is that going to take? Okay, but at least we know what's going on. But what's going on with Michael Knapp? Because that's a player that nobody has mentioned, or no, I stand myself corrected. Ray has mentioned about Michael Knapp. But whenever there's talk about injuries in the press conferences, that's a player that's never talked about. And we need some depth in the midfield. Where is Michael Knapp? Is he injured? Is he not, is Wilmer not a fan of him? If that's the case, why did you even sign him? Right? We don't know what's going on with Michael Knapp. And right now we are not in a situation where we can just, throw away players, like that and not use them if they're healthy. You get what I'm saying? Then there's also Frank Lopez and Christian Pinzon. We know they're injured, right? We know that they're injured. They were injured in preseason. How long is that going to take? Are they ever going to come back? So here's the thing, guys, so there's a couple of situations here because right now, and we'll talk about it more in depth later on, but the biggest issue right now RGV has is getting shots in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Right now we don't have a number 9. We have to make do with Wilmer Cabrera Jr., which so far right now, and Jacob is not going to let me lie, and I don't care if people get pissed off from what I'm about to say, but Wilmer Jr. has not been up to the task to be the goal scorer for RGV FC.
I know.
Cristiano Francois has not been great, taking advantage of his opportunities if he has a shot on goal. Ricky, he scored a wonder goal in the first game, but he's had more glaring misses than goals. So, who are we relying on goals out of those 3? I mean, I was going to mention it later, but of the 3 goals that RGV has scored, 2 of them were scored by defenders. The one against Oakland, which was scored by Jonathan Ricketts, and the previous shot that he deflected came from Frank Nadarce, another defender. Mm-hmm. And in this game against frickin' Monterey Bay Union, it's Taylor Davila, a midfielder, that scores the goal. So, what's going to happen? There's best case scenario where Christian Pinzon and Frank Lopez have a speedy recovery of whatever issue that they have. And now we have more firepower up on top. We know how Christian Pinzon is, how he plays. We saw it last year. And that's another thing. With how long Christian Pinzon has been out, how is his rhythm going to be when he comes back?
Yeah.
How is his confidence on his body going to be when he comes back? It's going to be another process to try to get him back to 100%. Same thing with Frank Lopez. And Frank Lopez, he's another issue like Juan David Cabezas. He has also been injury prone. So how long is it going to last before Frank Lopez gets injured again? Right? Are we going to have to rely back on Wilmer Cabrera Jr.? So that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, whatever injury that they have, which they've been characteristically silent about, ends up being season-ending injury. What are we going to do? Because the way I see it, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, I feel like most of the money that has been used for this season was focused on bringing key players back in the starting 11, which I am very appreciative of. What I was not expecting is that the rest of the squad was going to be filled with MLS2 players and academy players. Mm-hmm. And now you're having a situation where some of these key players, you can't count on them because they haven't arrived because of immigration issues or injuries. What I'm getting at is, what if the worst case scenario is season-ending injury and Alonso Cantu is unable to invest or unwilling to invest money on this team to help Wilmer Cabrera get more players into his lineup? Are we going to have to rely on Wilmer Cabrera Jr., on Cristiano Francois, on Ricky Reese? Because if that's the case, I'm sorry, but it is going to be a very, very long season if that is the case.
Goes to show that MLS 2 is still lacking. MLS Next to be exact, that's kind of MLS 2. But yeah, it's of course it's very, very frustrating with what has been going on with the roster. I'm glad that we have most of our team from last year back, but again, going back to kind of seat fillers in a sense. I mean, where else have they been? They've been mainly on the bench, kind of. That's kind of what we expected and what we kind of talked about before game one or after game one was where those players were going to go. And it just right now looks bleak. I can tell you that much on at least our roster from having those players not be here. Yes, you're completely right, Edson, with some of them most likely being immigration issues. But of course, Michael Knapp, where is this man? Where is this man? We don't hear a word about him. This guy was signed to a pretty good deal, if I recall correctly, which I'm sure because this club apparently doesn't have any money, which we all know. It's just you have to have the owner invest. You have to have people that are willing to invest a lot more money or just a lot of money into being kind of successful as long as those players work. And of course, a player that's going to stay with the club will probably get paid more than the year that they had before. So therefore, your funds are going to go a little bit lower. It's a whole deal. But this is what we have. Make do with what we have. But again, yeah, Wilmer Cabrera Jr. hasn't been amazing like he should be in that number 9 position. Players on the field have given only so much out there in my eyes. And this is not even talking about last Friday's game. This is just right before. This is what we've had. We've been before last night's game or before Friday night's game, RGV FC led 1-0 against Las Vegas.
Well,
and
yes.
then lost the lead, could not score that second goal to most likely put that game away before. Had a couple of opportunities in that first half as well.
Well, no, against Las Vegas, we were trailing.
We were trailing.
Yeah, we were trailing, and then we scored before halftime.
My bad. We tied. Yeah. And then
it's Oakland where we were winning.
Yeah, we were in the lead. Yes, exactly. Okay, yeah, my mistake. That's right. Before Alfredo, aka Pasta Reporter, decided to jinx us inside the booth. Just saying.
No, that was Ray. Ray was the one that jinxed us. He was the one that
I thought. Oh yeah. Ray.
No,
said
that was Ray. That was
then,
Ray.
But then Alfredo, I remember this. Alfredo said, he said, "Just watch. They're gonna score. They're gonna score." He kind of said that. So he was. Let me take it back. Before the pessimistic guy Alfredo decided to say, Oakland was gonna score. I recall that in the 80th minute. Point is, we should have in those games we should have had the second goal because we had that chance to be to be in the lead when RGVFC got that second goal, or when RGVFC got that first goal. It was looking like they were going to get that second goal in Las Vegas as well when they tied. Yeah. It seemed like that momentum had shifted. We talked about it last week, but it's very true. So it's frustrating. It's been frustrating that the goals have not shown up. This team can. I think Wilmer Cabrera Jr. has a lot left or a lot more than he's offering right now, but that's just me being a little bit hopeful, of course. But he has not been in form. Francois has not been in form. Players that have been on the field, yes, it's the first 3 games, but by this point, we should have already had a win. And it's frustrating that we haven't. This is kind of, just us ranting, but at that same time, where are these players? Where are the players?
And you know what? I'm not going to care anymore if anybody gets mad. I mean, because at the end of like, if anybody from the team, whether front office or coaching staff, finds this show, listens to it, and gets pissed off at what we're saying, I'm not gonna care anymore. These are opinions.
Mhm.
I mean, you don't give us a lot of information to begin with, and the information that is out there is pretty much kind of vague. With what Wilmer does manage to say in press conferences, the team isn't transparent when it comes to injuries. I mean, just a couple of days ago, New Mexico United announced that one of their key players is out with a torn ACL for the rest of the season. And what about RGV? They've never done that in all of these years. You know, so what does that do? That opens up the room for speculation. So if you don't want speculation, be transparent about that information, whether it's to the league or whether it's to the fans. You complain about speculation, well then don't allow us to try to put the pieces the pieces together, because you have a bunch of pieces and you end up putting things the wrong way because the pieces or the image that's within the pieces it just isn't legible or isn't in a way where you can tell, okay, this one goes here, this one goes there. That's what's going on right now. You give us vague pieces of information. We're trying to put the pieces together for the sake of you all, for the sake of the fans. And then you got coaching staff or players or, or front office members mad because they say we're incorrect. Well, excuse me for trying to put the pieces together. If you don't want us to say incorrect stuff, be open about it. Say it. Don't think the fans are stupid. The fans are gonna catch on eventually that Pinzon isn't available. Where's Galindres? Where was Nafiu Suleimana? Because these whole issues, this is not the first time that's happening. It happened last year as well. And Nafiu Suleimana didn't even come at all this last season. And he was also signed before the season started. And he never appeared. Why? Visa issues. So what is going on? What is going on with the front office where they can't do their job to make sure that the players get their visas on time? Now, I understand that right now the processes for visas is taking forever. Pero I can, what am I trying to get at here? I can forgive you one, or I can at least comprehend or understand one player. But two in a row, that's sus, honestly. And the people that are here hurting are Wilmer Cabrera because he doesn't have a roster that could give him results. The fans because they're out there paying a ticket, buying jerseys. In our case, doing podcasts, talking about the team, and the results aren't there. So I just don't know, and that's what's most frustrating to me, honestly, is that the team, whoever's in charge, tripped on the same stone, on the same rock. They keep on doing the same mistakes, and the team is suffering. And now we have to hope that the team is going to want to do a trade or is going to want to buy a player in the middle of the season like they did last season when they brought in Pinzon and they brought in Akeem O'Connor-Ward and they brought in Jonas Fjellberg. Yeah. And what if they don't? What if ownership says, tough luck, we don't have any money? All this work that marketing and the front office and ticketing and sales have done to try to get people back into the stands, it's all going to be for naught. People are going to stop going because the team isn't getting the results. And then we go into self-fulfilling prophecy. The players are the fans aren't going. We don't have enough. We have even less money to invest in this team. And what's going to happen? Worst case scenario, this team folds, or they move down to USL League One, or they move to MLS Next Pro. And I know I'm ranting a lot and going all over the place, but I think it was time for me to leave my quote unquote unbiased analysis about this team to the side, even if at least for a couple of minutes. And I just wanted to vent what I feel as a fan about this team. And I have to be honest. You know how people say ignorance is bliss? Well, unfortunately, because of the stuff that we know that goes on behind the scenes, that not a lot of fans have the privilege of finding out, whether it's because of talking with head coach or with players or anything like that, in interviews or anything like that. Little by little, I'm losing the passion of soccer in general, and it sucks for me to say this, and like with the Toros, because I mean this is my local team. I love this team to death. We love this team to death, Jacob. You know, we've gone far and beyond to try to get this team to resonate with the fans, with the local people here in the Valley. But if the people that are in charge of this club aren't doing what it takes, aren't doing their part, then what are we doing? Why are we taking time out of our lives to make this team better, make this fan base more knowledgeable, bigger, when the ones that have the most control on the success of this team just are making mistake after mistake? And what hurts me the most, Jacob, and I told you this before we started, is that I am very afraid that all this time Sean Ringrose was right all along when he talked about Toro's independence, when he said, be careful what you wish for. Because what it seems to me, yes, we have made the playoffs, and I did have a video in the offseason talking about that. Since independence, we've made it back to playoffs. But it seems since the beginning, this roster has been thinner and thinner and thinner. Where are we going in this future? Is this team going to disappear? Is this team moving down? At this point, I'd rather them move down. If it means saving this franchise from getting sold or disappearing, I'd rather them move down to MLS Next Pro or USL League One. If it means helping them reduce expenses for this team. It's going to suck not being against San Antonio, against El Paso, but we'll manage. At least we'll still have a team, a professional soccer team. That's what I'm most afraid of. And that is why I'm ranting to y'all right here. And I'm about to be teary-eyed because of it. Because I care about this team a lot. And I don't want to hear anybody from front office, anybody from coaching staff, anybody of the players or any other fans say that I don't give a shit about this team. Or that Jacob doesn't give a shit about this team. Or that Ray doesn't give a shit about this team. Because that is a bunch of bullshit and y'all know it.
Yeah, considering, and this is no jab at any other media, but this is just 100% true. when we have been year in and year out from Ray Silva, Edson, and myself. Even though, yes, Edson had some complications with being in Houston. But again, this man would come on here every week and cover the losses and the wins for RGV FC every week. It would be the same deal with Ray. It would be the same deal with myself as much as I could when my job or anything, or I wasn't sick or anything like that, basically hindering me. My point is, yeah, if you tell us we don't care about the team, then that is a weird way of, apparently going to every game and apparently talking about every single game every week is not caring about the team. That's a very strange definition of not caring. Last time I checked about not caring about something is literally not watching it, and just that is free and clear from your mind. Because yes, I will tell you one thing. I care about the Texas Longhorns. I care about San Antonio FC. I care about Seattle Sounders. You see my point, because I want them to lose, so therefore I care about them. And it's the same deal. Of the care, because yeah, we for us, we care for this team to succeed, and we care to bring you all this coverage. And for players and fans and for front office to say we don't, well, we're there every week, so who really doesn't care? That would be you, front office. That would be you, if you all are saying that we don't care, which of course that is also not true in the slightest, when front office literally, I mean, at least marketing has cared enough to get sponsors and things like that. So,
And that's what I'm saying. What hurts the most is that you've got marketing and ticket sales. Yeah, they have had their mistakes, but they're working on improving. And yet somewhere along the line, whether it's coaching staff or lawyers or lo que sea, are making mistakes that affect, the squad, the roster. Now Wilmer has to make do with a reduced squad. The results aren't there. People are going to stop caring. And I'm not caring, and I'm not losing my passion because we're losing. I'm losing my passion because it just seems like it's a futile effort. I posted today on Twitter. And not necessarily like return on investment because, look at all these upgrades. Like, no, the return of investment of time, time that I could be using for myself. And we're out here going to the games, analyzing, preparing the show for the team to be making the same mistakes. I don't know. I know we've kind of veered a little bit off topic, but I just wanted, like I said, I just wanted to get it out of my chest, because I just don't want to lie to you all. I don't want to go on here and tell you that everything is fine and dandy. The world is rose colored, because it's not. I'd be insulting your intelligence if I stood here and told you everything's great about this team. It's not. There's still a lot of time to improve it, but man, it's like, what is going on? And I fear for the future of this team.
Yeah.
So Mike says, I think what we have right now is going to stay until we get Pinzon and Frank back, and I hope we get him back. Mike says, what if the Toros don't want to pay for the visa? If that is the case, Mike, fucking hell, dude. That is going to be the biggest slap in the face on the affected players, and on the fans.
Yep. Honestly, if that is the case, and if we learn that that is it, I kid you not, I might not show up to any more games, because that is one of the reasons why I stopped rooting for the Houston Dynamo, because management did stuff like that where they didn't care. They didn't care to invest. And then, not to mention, yes, we had that bald dude there, that bald guy,
Mr. Core Values, Matt Jordan.
Okay, didn't really need to remember his name, but okay.
Hey, if I have to live with this name on my mind, you're going down with me, sir.
But you see, and then, yeah, you know, I jumped ship to Portland because I had been to Portland for a while, and you could see the complete opposite and the beauty of caring about a team and about management doing that exact same thing. And of course, it's just, yeah, it sucked. And then for them to also treat players poorly too, the Dynamo, that also left a bad taste in my mouth, and that's one of the reasons why I just stopped. And if we learn that is going down with RGV FC, forget it. I will jump on that UTRGV ship as fast as possible and be like, let's destroy that turf. I don't care anymore.
You know what that situation, what that shows? That it shows selfishness. If that were the case, it shows selfishness and a pure disregard of players, because these players signed with you. They would stop hearing offers from other teams. Maybe they would have gotten a late offer for another division, another league that paid them more money or whatever. But they went out of their way to choose RGV as the place to play. And for you as an organization to not respect their time and effort and do something like that, if this were true, that is going to be something that I am pretty sure would not go well with the USLPA. And you know that once the unions get involved, your reputation gets, as an organization, gets ruined. Players are not going to want to sign for you anymore, whether it's international or within the league. Mm-hmm. And the ones that are going to sign for you, oh wait, I forgot. That's probably what they're going to want. Cheap players. The ones that are going to sign, they're ones that you can pay very little for, because they're desperate for an opportunity in USL Championship. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, I mean, it needs to improve. And if we're wrong, I hope we're wrong.
Yeah, same.
But we're just over here analyzing all these possibilities, the worst and the best. Why? Because we got very little indication of what's the situation. And so you might think that it's a little bit exaggerated when we were talking about, when Mike said something about, not paying for the visas. I mean, it's not the first team that's done that. Mm-hmm. I mean, somewhere around the world, there's been situations. You look at Mexico with Veracruz. Players didn't even get paid for a long time. Just ask Rodrigo Lopez. So, like I said, I hope I'm really wrong. Same. And I hope that this situation improves. I swear to God, I hope it does improve, and that I am completely exaggerating what the situation is. But this needs to be improved for the sake of our players who are away from their families, for the sake of coaching staff, for the sake of the fans, and for the sake of Alonso Cantu's reputation within the USL Championship.
Yep.
But anyway, I feel like I've ranted for too long. Let's get back to the situation at hand before I get a call. I'm just kidding. Anyway, where was I? Anyway, so yeah, going back into the game, RGV FC had some improvements. They did dominate a little bit more, not necessarily possession, but what they did with the ball in their feet improved. They had slight possession advantage over Monterey Bay Union, but they had more shots on target than Monterey Bay FC Union. So, statistically speaking, RGV FC had 20 shots, 10 on target. Huge improvement from the first couple of games. What was the first game? Like 20% or something like that?
Yeah, it had to be around that.
You know, they had 29 crosses inside the box, which question, I don't know why. We don't have a striker. We don't have a tall striker. So why are we? Why is it high crosses or low crosses? I think it'd be better to go in and break down how many were high, how many were low, because there were a lot of low crosses by Robert Coronado or Tomás Ritondale when he came in, or Cristiano Francois. But there were a lot of times where they also went high. But it's like we don't have any high players, you know. What I did see that I did like is that because we don't have a number 9, I saw players like Taylor Davila and Ricky and all that try to go for the long shots, from shots from outside the box. And they were quasi-effective. I mean, they were on target too. So that is something that has shown some improvement in that aspect. They had 71.4% of aerial duels won. So they dominated and limited the amount of danger that Monterey Bay had on RGV FC, and of course 14 interceptions. Just in the first half alone, RGV had 8 shots, 5 of them on target, while Monterey Bay had 5 total shots, 0 on target. So I guess it's only fair to show the positives of this game, even if it didn't reflect on the scoreboard.
That's the thing. You talk about it, and even though there's so much positive, we have to go back to what is on the field and how you play the game of soccer. How do you win on the game of soccer? You score more goals than the other team. That's where this team lacks. We talked about it before, but it goes back to it. So yes, there are some positives, but there's still so much that needs to be worked on, because whether or not those shots were on target could have been one of those things where it's kind of a cross, it's kind of on target, but it gets saved by the keeper. So it's just it's frustrating when you can't score as many as 1 goal a game.
Yeah. And that it's your not strikers that are doing the job to scoring the goals.
Yeah.
So so this is a play, because I want to talk about how RGV, it seems to me they have no organization in the set pieces, right? It seems to me that at least in this game against Monterey Bay FC Union, whenever RGV had a set piece in their favor, they sent out all of their center backs up there to try to get the ball. So, for example, in this play, this is in the 61st minute, right? Mm-hmm. You have Eric Pimentel up on top, Wahab Akwe, Frank Nodarse. Who is that? So you've got your 3 center backs up there in the box trying to get that. And right behind them, I'm pretty sure, was Jonathan Ricketts or Robert Coronado. And so what ends up happening is you leave yourself exposed on the counterattack. And that's exactly what happened here. So, So you have a set piece that goes nowhere, right? So Monterey Bay recovers the ball. Okay? Monterey Bay clears that ball out. And that was right here. That should have been easily a safe ball for Ricky to manage and pass the ball back. And there goes the end of the play for Monterey Bay. But what happens? He whiffs. He miscalculates that ball. The attacker for Monterey Bay just moves aside for him and sends the through ball over to Alex Dixon, who goes up in the run of play all alone, one-on-one against Tyler Derrick. But who's back? Look who's back. Robert Coronado and Gringo Torres, who was the one that was the original kick taker for the free kick that started this play. Mm-hmm. Where is everybody else? Because I don't see... Okay, I think I see Eric Pimentel right there in the middle circle. But I don't see Wahab. I don't see Nodarse hustling back to try to get the ball back. Whether it's offside or not, well, I mean, it doesn't matter. The referee, the linesman said that's not offside. And so now the question is, because I know this was a controversial topic the hours after the game, how much fault in this goal was on Tyler Derrick? Because Dixon's right in front of goal, and Tyler Derrick comes all the way up to try to get to the ball first, doesn't get there in time, and leaves the door open for Alex Dixon to just tap the ball in. So, Jacob, people in the chat, do you guys think that Tyler Derrick was majorly at fault for this goal to come in? I think you can probably have an idea what my evaluation is from this play, from what I just said. But Jacob, what do you think?
Okay, so you can look at it from multiple angles as just in general to analyze this. And just like you said, Tyler Derrick comes way off his line. That's what he chose in that moment, which to him and to a lot of other goalkeepers, that's probably a smart idea. Go towards the ball. Don't wait for the ball to get to you, even as a defender. He's going to try to save it off the feet, which I would say a good 60 to 70-ish % of the time it works. Yes, they're still at 30%, but that's about every single angle that you would look at it. I'm not really saying that it's going to be a 50-50 time, but every single angle you go out, try to make that save. If it doesn't work, oh well, it's probably going to get scored. You're probably going to get scored on, but at that same time, what other thing can he do? He stays back, has maybe a better opportunity to save the ball. Yeah, but what if he gets beat high because there's no other defender? And that striker's just going to strike it, and it hits top right. It hits bar down kind of too in that top right, or top left. You know, it's one of those situations where you have to think, what's my move going to be in an instant second, in a split second? Yes, technically he is at fault, but that's not because he did the wrong thing. That's just because he got scored on. Because in that sense, we can look at it from 30 different ways or 10 different plays that he could have decided to do. But in that sense, I think most of those end up a goal. He stays back. He probably gets struck on from afar, and maybe it's over the goal. But most likely it's on target, and it might beat him. So yeah, it's just a lot of, yeah.
So Harry says, you cannot miss as a GK. Then Alan Carrillo says, I just stumbled on this channel and you guys should do a full USL Championship podcast show. Alan, first of all, welcome to the Down in the Valley podcast. I appreciate your words. I think it'd be really cool, but unfortunately, it's just the time for me. I don't have enough time to do something full-blown USL. I mean, there's a lot of good. I mean, you've got the USL show, you've got all these other USL in general shows that are out there, but yeah, we just try. Our main focus has always been RGV, and it will always be. But I appreciate your words. Hope you're enjoying it, and hope you learn a little bit about RGV FC. But what is going on here as you're listening to this show, not only this podcast or not only this live stream, but also in other videos or previous live streams as well. We thank you for your kind words, Alan. Harry says it's on the defense. If he comes out and stays in the box, it's still a small chance of him saving it. Yep. Then Abraham says, from the angle I was sitting at, it looked like it was Tyler Derrick's fault, but as well, he was left alone, so it's not all Tyler's fault. Yep. And then, of course, Harry Austin says, SAFC Jordan Farr is the only one to stop that shot. Sir, Jordan Farr should...
the USL. Every player who's in the USL, including a goalkeeper, is not meant to save a lot of powerful shots in general because they're here.
That is not what I was going to say.
But either way, that's what I'm going to say to Harry. They're in the USL for a reason, dude.
Well, and I was going to say that freaking Jordan Farr is too big to be in the USL Championship, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But so my evaluation of this play is, while I could, Abraham says, I respect Jordan Farr, but I roll. That's just my opinion. But then again, I am kind of biased because I love, my favorite position is goalkeeper. So I huge respect when you got a good keeper that makes the kind of saves and comes out as clutch as Jordan Farr has. But that's just me. But what I was getting at is, so for me, I could argue that maybe Tyler Derrick could have been a little bit higher up and play more of that sweeper keeper like Manuel Neuer or Nahuel Guzman, kind of thing, where you're way up when you've got, the ball on the other side of the field and you've got your defenders right at the midfield, your keeper tends to be a little bit away from the 18-yard box. Why? In these cases, you have a bigger advantage of getting to the ball in those through balls first before the attacker does. To me, at least based from what I remember and from what I'm seeing here in the replays, Tyler Derrick probably was still inside his 18-yard box in that play, so he had a distance disadvantage. Did he feel that maybe he could have still got into it? Probably. And I actually applaud the effort to try and at least do something to intercept. Yep. He wasn't able to get it. Okay, but at least he tried something. Why I don't like the fact that he stays, right? Because if he's still outside the 18-yard box, obviously you give Dixon so much time to raise your head, look where Tyler Derrick is, advance with the ball, and try to just slot it past him or try to chip him. You get what I'm saying? Whereas where you are, when you're going and try to pressure and try to get to that ball first, you're closing down the space of the attacker. And so you have to force the attacker, if he does get there first, maybe a bad touch where the ball goes towards more to the side, closing your angle even more. And that gives an opportunity for your defenders to come back and try to get in between the ball and the goal. But at least you did something. And that's why I don't think that it's as high as a fault for Tyler Derrick. Yep. I do think, I think maybe that, or maybe, and I think I recall where it seemed like he was hesitant to come up to it at first. So that hesitation gives an extra couple of milliseconds for the attacker to get to the ball first, right? But overall, the highest culprit is the tactical alignment of Wilmer Cabrera in the set pieces, in which you leave yourself exposed in the back for the counterattack because you don't have your defenders back there in case anything happens. Why? Because your defenders like Nolarse and Acque, they're the tall ones. So they have to go up and try to get the header because we don't have a 9 and the attackers we have are short. Why is Pimentel up there? I don't know. Because he's not tall. He's taller than me, yes. But in the overall aspect of things, he's not a tall person. He's not a tall defender. So why is he up there instead of helping Roberto Coronado in the back to protect yourself from the counterattack? That is what I don't understand and why I think this falls highly on that situation. And yeah, Ricky whiffed, so he gets a little bit of blame, but overall, had they planted themselves correctly in the for the counterattacks, leading from their set piece attempt, we probably would not have been talking about the goal from Monterey Bay, because outside of that, Monterey Bay did nothing to RGV FC. And that was not the first time, or that was not the last time that RGV fell in a similar scenario in that game. Because a couple of minutes later, let's hope this is the right video. Yes. In the 67th minute, corner kick from RGV. By the way, apparently the bit rate of the broadcast wasn't too good, so because it kept on stopping. But similar situation here. Lose the ball on the counter, and then Monterey Bay has a clear counterattack opportunity. Thankfully, if you can see there, you got the counterattack. You got 2 players down here all alone. Thankfully, the pass was terrible, and Ricky Reese was able to get that ball back for RGV FC, but that could have easily been the second goal. Same situation. You've got all your defenders up on top. It said that this time, if I'm not mistaken, no, it's still Robert Coronado. It's still Robert Coronado right there. And then Ricky Reese over here. Why is Ricky Reese having to do the sacrifice on defense when you've got 5 defenders to do that, to do that for you? I just don't get it. If anybody from the chat or you, Jacob, can explain it to me to understand why this is happening or why this happened in that game, I am all ears. Because from what I can see and what happened in the game, there is no justification for that.
Yeah, no, I can't explain it for 100%. I think you said it perfectly. There really isn't an explanation for them to be doing that. And you're just leaving the offense open. You're leaving it open for a chance to do exactly that, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see that. It's just a lack of. I guess there is one thing that I can say that might be a good reason of why. That's because they lack the mental strength to stay focused for 90 minutes. That's about it.
So Mike says, Edson, we went over this. He says, they are the best. It's because they are the best headers in the team. Okay. Nolarse and Acque, tall players. I can accept that. But Ricketts and Pimentel, because you already got Robert Coronado in the back. I get the point that you're trying to make, and like I told you, as I analyzed it, I understood your point more. But for me, the fact that this happened twice, minimum twice in this game, similar situation. You got lucky that it wasn't 2-0 because of these mistakes. You would think that after getting scored on in a similar situation, Wilmer's going to be like, no, we need to play this smarter. And we need to have more players out there in the back because Monterey Bay is beating us with speed in the counterattacks. Harry says, my question for Edson, as a goalkeeper, was it smarter for him to go the path he did than to take out the player and get a red card? Would not be a PK since it's out of the box. I want to say no. Because if push comes to shove, I mean, if it was like clearly the only player that it was because we didn't have defenders, I would say yeah. I mean, just take one for the team and get yourself a red card or something because you're caught high up. But you need to focus on getting to actually get to the ball first, or at least delay the player to not have a clear shot on goal to allow your defenders to come back in. Unfortunately, he left himself exposed because he way too far back, right? And he wasn't able to get to the ball first. But it was an opportunity. He gambled on it, and unfortunately, he lost. But he did do something about it. I think it would have been better what he did than him just staying there. In my eyes, just staying there in the box. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that disagree, and I'm more than welcome to listening their explanations, whether it's here on the chat or on the on social media at Down in the RGV on Twitter and on Facebook. Costless Titan says this team is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. No comment, as the great Jerson Echeverry once says. Alan Carrillo says, you can tell you love RGV because of that, there's no doubt your passion will show for a full USL coverage show, but hats off. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much for your words. So now let's move on with this same play, because we're talking about putting ourselves in counterattack exposure. But what happened right after this really grinds my gears to the point where I was fuming at the mouth at the press box. And Ray can attest to that. So, right after this play, I told you that Ricky Reese intercepts the ball back for RGV FC. All right? So, now I think that's either Taylor Davila or Gringo Torres. And I think, so he sends a through ball over to Cristiano Francois out there on the wing. Okay, all fine and dandy there. You're looking for an opportunity for attack. Okay? But if you look, he's got 5 defenders compared to that are at a similar height as he is on the pitch, and everybody else is behind him. So you would think, oh, my teammate sent a through ball over to him. He's all alone going up against 5 defenders. Let me go hustle as fast as I can, either to inside the box or behind them, so I can provide an avenue of escape if you've got a double coverage or triple coverage on my teammate. But what happened? Feast your eyes on this. Cristiano Francois has it. Taylor Davila is jogging towards 3/4 of the field. And there's Wilmer Jr. jogging with a calm pace towards the 18. This is 20 minutes in the second half. I know I'm not the best example of someone that's fit and healthy to run 90 minutes, But goddamn, this is the 22nd minute of the second half. This isn't 90 plus minutes where you can say, oh, well, it's because he's tired. That's why they weren't able to hustle and sprint all the way to try and help Cristiano Francois. This is 22 minutes in. And you see this? You leave Cristiano Francois out to dry. You lose an opportunity to take advantage of a loose ball that Monterey Bay gave away. How do you not expect me as a fan to get frustrated about this team when you see actions like this on the pitch? It's not like you're winning 1-0 or 2-0. You're losing 2-1. You have not been able to get a win in the last 2 games. I want to see a little bit more urgency out of this team when you have these opportunities. I don't know if I'm overreacting to this, but this honestly doesn't look good.
I mean, it doesn't. I don't know why it would. You can't be jogging 22 minutes in. Oh, conserving your energy. Yeah, right. You've got to. If you're not match fit for a whole 90 minutes, then A, why are you starting? And B, that shows you're not carrying in practice either, because that's where you're supposed to get match fit. There's plenty of players. I mean, great example, Jonathan Ricketts. Was that two matches ago? He has, opening day, he has a stomach bug. He tries to play, can't play, has to be subbed out. Understandable. Comes back the next week feeling healthy. We interview him. He was shocked. He was match fit and perfect, like almost perfect with how well he felt out there. Which is insane, because if we've ever had it, and we've talked about it before, if we've ever had the stomach bug, it does not sit well, and you're out for close to 2 weeks. It's pretty intense, because you're still getting back fluids that you lost. And for him to have felt nothing that next week was fantastic for him. But my point is, it shows more about the character of that player than it does show, and it shows about that team. That you don't care. If you're just going to be jogging behind, like, guess what? The play is going on in front of you, and you're just lightly jogging instead of sprinting down the field to try to get back there and make an effort at a play. It boggles my mind that is something that just in general a coach is going to let open, or basically that is the standard sort of for this team, is what it seems like, of not necessarily carrying on the field.
So Costless Titan says, I remember this play, shake my head. That play almost made me leave the stadium. Complete lack of effort, which is completely unacceptable at any level.
Yep.
Michael says, Ricky and Warmer need to get it together because they had open shots. Totally agree. They need to work on finishing.
Yep.
They've improved on getting into the freaking target. But can you get it on target and away from the keeper? That's going to be the issue. Because it does you no good when you've got shots on target, but they all go straight at the keeper. And Wilmer Cabrera Jr. had a couple of those. Cristiano Francois had a couple of those too. Oh, don't let me get started on that sitter that Wilmer Cabrera Jr. completely whiffed and skied it. I mean, how are we expected to win when you can't take advantage of these opportunities? So Alan Carrillo brings up a good question, Jacob. He says, how much is it on Wilmer Cabrera, the coach? Because I don't think he had the best record in MLS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, this goes back to a fun conversation that we've had before too, because we said it when he got hired. We're like, what the crap? Why? He didn't prove himself. He only proved himself once. And that was the first season.
And then he lost the locker room.
Then. Exactly. And
then he lost the locker room. Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but I'm just talking about USL. The USL, of course, has changed a lot more since 2016. Then 2017 comes around. He still is riding that high, and then loses the locker room the next 2 years with the Houston Dynamo. Finally gets fired, then goes over to coach for, what was it?
Montreal Club de Foot Montreal.
There we go, Montreal, and well, he doesn't do too well there either because he gets fired. Funny enough, so it's not. He does not have a great track record, and then he had a better track record in the USL, and he's shown it so far. And then all of a sudden, it's just, I don't know. It's that third year. It's that third year bug. But of course, you can't blame it on that. You can only blame it on the coach. If you're a really good coach, you're staying there for years to come, and that does not mean 3 years. You're meaning 4, 5, 6. You're winning championships with the club. But no, he just. Yes, of course, it's definitely somewhat on him. It's definitely somewhat on the staff around them too, because you don't just have the coach in practice coaching teams. You have a goalkeeper coach. You have an assistant coach helping out. You have just different coaches out there, the trainer, stuff like that, helping in any way, shape, or form, making sure that the players are working perfectly. There too, yeah, it goes back. Perfect practice means perfect execution. I haven't seen that.
So I think for me, I think Mike has a point. He says it's all Wilmer's fault. I don't agree with the all, but I think there is some fault in Wilmer. He said, why did he play them, your key players, a whole 90 minutes in a preseason game against Austin? I guess he's talking about Austin FC too. I think for me, I think at the end of the day, there's only so much a coach can do you're already a grown man. Mm-hmm. You're already supposed to be professional at a professional level. If a coach has to come to you and teach you to hustle and force and like pressure you to hustle during a game and not just jog around and go through the motions, then are you really prepared to be a professional, whatever? Yeah. Whether it's a soccer player, whether it's at your job. If you can only function when you've got somebody behind you pressuring you, then you're not showing professionalism. That's the problem. Yep. And so to me, in this specific scenario, this falls more on the player than on coach. Yep. To me. There's a lot of things that I criticize about Wilmer, but in my eyes, this is not one of them, at least the most of it. This falls more on the player and their mentality or their lack of embarrassment, or como, like you say in Spanish, o sea, la falta de vergüenza deportiva to hustle in those kind of plays.
Yep.
And yes, our RGV FC continued to fight, but these plays stick in your mind longer and linger in your mind longer and make a bigger impression than any other place that where you did the correct thing.
Yeah.
So that's the way I think. Michael, so Alan says, what has his record been with the club? I think it's overall been positive. Mm-hmm. I mean, the three times we've made it to playoffs, it's been under Wilmer Cabrera. Mm-hmm. Outside of Wilmer Cabrera, with Junior Gonzalez and Gerson Echeverry, I think it's been more losses and draws than wins. Yeah. But it could still improve under Wilmer. But if you don't give him the manpower, to have a competitive squad like he did in 2021 or 2020, or no, 2021 and 2022, he can only do so many miracles with a lower end squad. You saw it with the Dynamo in 2017, but what happened after? It all went downhill. Yeah. So that's the way it is with that particular play. And then we move on, obviously, to the goal, in which you have, it's the 90th minute. Retondale comes in. You start maintaining more control over the ball. The passing feels a little bit more fluid. You're starting to find a little bit more of the open spaces. And then you get a ball that is rebounded on the out top of the box. And you've got Taylor Davila that has confidence in himself, takes the shot from outside the box, the ball gets deflected, and it goes into the back of the net. A little bit fortuitous, but those are the thing. That's why you have to shoot from outside the box. You never know what's going to happen. If you put it on frame, you don't know what's going to happen if you're going to get it deflected for a corner, or it's going to deflect it away just enough for the keeper to be unable to react to it and not be, and that goes into the back of the net.
Yep.
But this is where I have another situation that really grinded my gears. And you're just seeing it right now. Eric Pimentel, another stupid red card. He just came back from suspension. Come on. What the hell is going on in his mind? If you see right now, the referee makes hand gestures saying head. What is he saying? He's saying, you made an attempt to headbutt the opposing player. That's an automatic red card. You are the captain. You are the leader. You are the veteran. You're supposed to set the example for the young players. You're equalized. You have the momentum to go get the game-winning goal. The last thing you need is to take time away and waste time because you're fighting with the other team, or because you've got the referee now handing out yellows everywhere because everybody's on in a big scrum. You as the captain, you as the experience, you grab your player. I don't care if it's by the collar. I don't care if it's by the arm. I don't care if you have to freaking drag his hair. But you grab your players and you throw them to your side of the field and tell them, hey, get back up there. We need to continue. We need to get the game-winning goal. But no, what he does is he starts fighting with the player, with the goalkeeper, when they had already been separated. He had already been separated from Ricky Reese. But no, a pinche Pimentel se le pone. He gets all in Saya's face, or at least attempts to, because freaking goalkeeper's like huge, like super tall. I think Wilmer's at 6'5". And now you got time running out because they're fighting. Now the referee has to come to you, give you the red, and now then you start complaining. Why are you giving me the red? This isn't fair, yada, yada, yada. He goes to gives Ricky the yellow. He gives the goalkeeper the yellow. How many minutes did you waste right there? 1.5 or 1 minute if we want to be lenient about it. That is not what a captain does. And we'll continue to talk about it right now because we've got the quote from Wilmer Cabrera that I think we should discuss. But overall, I am extremely frustrated about from Eric Pimentel. It is freaking ridiculous. At the end, get the equalizer. 3 points out of 9. Only 3 goals to our name. As I mentioned before, 2 of them had to come from non-attacking players. Should we be worried? I say yes.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, we should be. It's tough for me to say we fully should be worried because it's 3 games. But of course, those 3 games have not been promising. Can those players get back here? Can we get all of them? It's a whole thing. We should be worried to an extent now, but not full on panic, I think. That everything's going to be bad and downhill. Why I say that is just as simple as it's 3 games. I think we've had a lot of starts like this that have still been able to be rebounded. But it starts this weekend on the road. Maybe this team is a road team again. It's should we be worried? Yes, but not freaking out and panicking.
I worry. I'd already talked to ad nauseum why. Because this is what we've got, and we don't have anybody to, outside of maybe Duilio Herrera, that's behind them to try to find something different. But if our three attackers aren't clicking, and this continues for the rest of the season, well, what can we expect? We cannot rely on our defense having to carry this team throughout the whole season, and that's not the first time I've said it about this team. I've said it in previous years, So, as Costas, I think it was Costas time to say it. I mean, this is the definition of insanity.
But the only difference is we had more shots on target. Whether or not they were straight at the keeper, we had more shots on target than we've had in a while, and we've had more shots in general too. So there's a positive.
They're improving.
Yes, that is a small positive, but at that same time, you look at that now. You can, as a coach or even as an assistant coach, as a striker coach, go back and be like, okay, we have more stats. Basically, we have more. We have something more to work with than we did a week or 2 weeks ago, because we were barely hitting the net 2 weeks ago. We were barely hitting the net just in general and getting shots basically off. We were only, if I'm not recalling, we only had like 8 shots or something crazy like that. It wasn't a lot, is my point. And now we finally are hitting, 50% at least on target, which is much better. So yes, there is reason to worry, but I would say after this weekend's game, if we're not doing that same thing or having a little bit more shots on target, then I'd be worried. But again, that's going to be the players' first ever road game in the USL. So then you have to look at it that way, and it's kind of a regress situation. So I think the next time if they're at home, then you reevaluate where this team is at least for the shots on target situation and maybe scoring. Yes, I'd like to see them definitely score. Maybe they pick up a win on the road. Who knows? But yes, you worry up to a certain extent of there is something that can be worked on, but if it's not showing up in a game the following 2 weeks after we figure this out, then that's a bigger issue than we thought.
So having said this, let's move on quickly to Kema no Kemaka. As we mentioned, our version of spot on, spot off. Do we agree or disagree with certain quotes or certain decisions made by someone within RGV FC or maybe even within soccer in general? So first thing that we want to talk about is the quote from Wilmer Cabrera, coach, on Eric Pimentel's red card. So remember, spot on or quema means you agree. No quemaca or spot off means you disagree. So Wilmer said, Eric Pimentel is responsible for being there. I spoke with him in the locker room. You cannot be there, I told him. I'm going to protect my players, he replied. No, you cannot be there. I do not want you to be there anymore. Is it because he could be a target? I don't know. Is it because it's Eric Pimentel? Because he got a red card? We don't know. The reason he got a red card? Nobody knows but the referee. Well, I disagree on that, but let's continue. He didn't dissent. He doesn't speak English. They were shoving before with Ricky. And if it's for shoving, they have to send 3-4 players out with a red card. He is guilty for being there. He has to pay the price, and he has to pay attention to the situation. Quema or no quema, Jacob?
The quote gets worse as it continues. I had only heard part of it, and I had only read part of this. Well, but now hearing the whole thing it makes it even worse. Yeah, no, he's way the heck spot off. Considering we as fans, we as people who watch the broadcast already freaking know what the answer was. Easy red card. Easy red card for a player. Yeah, whatever if he doesn't know English. So what? The referee speaks Spanish. I've never heard of a referee on the field not being bilingual, which is one of the reasons why I'm never probably going to be able to be at least a referee in that sense. But it's, huh? From Wilmer, he's way spot he's spot off. It's very simple. That's as BS as you like from a coach. That's as dancing around the fact that, yeah, sure. The only thing that I'm spot on with is, yeah, he doesn't need to be there anymore. He doesn't need to be on this team. He needs to fly back to his old team. I'm sorry. I don't want him on this team anymore if he's going to continue to be that type of just a complete terrible player where he doesn't care about anybody else. This is a chance where this team could have come back and won the game, a last second or a last minute goal with about 4 minutes still left on the time because it was like 7 or so minutes of stoppage time. Doesn't make any sense for him to blow it wide open, just get sent off, and now all of a sudden it's like it's done. There's no advantage for RGV FC anymore, considering Monterey Bay at that time had a red card. Had a freaking red card.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it worse. RGV FC were playing up a player and looked like the more sensible team. Which, to be fair, in all the sense after that goal, they were still the sensible team. It's just you have that one bad apple that does a stupid, idiotic thing that now he's probably going to most likely be missing for 3 weeks. I don't know that for sure. I haven't looked at the committee board or whatever. But the rule states, and this is from 2017, so maybe the rule changed. But guess what? Since he's got 2 red cards, one more, he has to go up in front of a committee. I don't know if that's the rules, but that's the only thing that I could find online from USL. So again, I don't necessarily know the full rule. I don't know if he's gonna I believe with 2 red cards just in general, you're most likely out for 2 weeks because the committee's like, oh, yeah, this guy's got 2 red cards in pretty close proximity. Yeah, he needs to be suspended for longer than to make him learn his lesson. That's normally how it goes. Don't know if it went that way this time. But again, it's also the referee said headbutt, and we can see it on the replay. So therefore, the committee probably will see it on the replay too and be like, yeah, no, that dude deserves to be suspended for 3 weeks, 3 matches at least. So it's something where I want him gone. I want him gone by the next window in general. This player, we saw no apology from this player after he got a red card. I know Wilmer talked to him during in the locker room, but it reminds me of the Romelu Kyoto meltdown. The way he completely just left the club in disarray for Houston Dynamo. And it just he's a moron. And to coach, you're spot off with that whole thing. Just, I mean, that is horrendous coming from coach. I'm sorry, that is bad. You dance around every question. Tell the freaking truth. You know what everybody wants you to say. So say it. Don't hide the fact that he did a stupid, idiotic thing. If you could not see the referee do that, watch the dang replay or say, I have not seen the clip myself, so I can't necessarily say too much on this besides the fact that this is what I saw. It looked like, yes, there were people shoving in the back, but Pimentel did the thing. He tried to headbutt. You see him go in like that. You see him go in. This idiot cannot play soccer. He just wants to cause violence. And he's going to be sent off every single time he's on the field now, apparently, whether or not it's a yellow card. This man doesn't deserve to be playing soccer in general. Yeah, he's never going to change. I was talking to somebody not too long ago that, we were going back and forth on messaging. He said that. He was like, yeah, but this guy's never going to change even if he goes in front of a committee board. I'm like, true. That's why I want him gone. Screw Eric Pimentel. Coach his spot off with that. Makes him sound like a joke. I'm sorry. It makes him sound like a joke. If he come after me, coach. I don't care anymore. This team is in disarray. You're about to lose the locker room like you did 2 friggin' years ago, or sorry, longer than that. 2019 with the Houston freaking Dynamo. You don't get your act together. I'm sorry, but that is just, it's frustrating. You do not defend somebody that does that 2 straight freaking times they're on the field and gets a red card for your team, letting every single player down, not just you. You're letting Tyler Derrick down. This is a team that had a chance to get 3 points in the end. And he ruined it with that red card. An instant goal, and then that happens. Losing respect of Wilmer right now, and I'm not shocked by myself. He needs to be careful with what he says in press conferences, because that's stupid. When we saw it, you do not defend that man for getting 2 straight red cards and ruining your chances to freaking win a game. We want 3 points at home. And it's his fault that we haven't gotten it in 2 of those matches. I don't care. You play with 10 men no matter what. Whatever. Yeah, one of those red cards were at the end. But you don't come up to a referee and do stuff like that, or come up to a player and do stuff like that. I don't care. It's players like that give football a bad rep. Soccer, sorry. That's all I have to say.
So Mike says, no pinche quema. But he says he is spot off for a different reason. He says he, as in Pimentel, needs to stand up for the players. And then he says, I never saw a headbutt. He just got in the guy's face. Nothing like the GK pushing and slapping the back of Ricky. Everything happened right in front of the Stampede. Regardless,
you're telling me, oh, sorry.
Regardless of if it's a headbutt or not. I think I mentioned it in the home opener after the game, if you recall correctly, Jacob. I said, you're the captain. You're the experience. You'll get your boys out of there as fast as you can, back into your side of the field, so that way they can restart the game quickly. Yes, okay, Ricky goes for the ball to get the ball and try to take it back. The goalkeeper doesn't want to give it to you. Okay, let him keep it. You run to the back. And if the other team is not quick in getting the ball back into the center circle, let the referee take care of that. Yeah. But don't put yourself in a situation where you take up a lot of time, and then you as the captain go in, instigate a situation that had already been separated, and now you leave your team with a man down. I don't care if there was a headbutt or not. There probably wasn't a headbutt. Maybe it is like Wilmer Cabrera says. It's because it's Eric Pimentel that they have him under a microscope. Maybe. But because of that, don't put yourself in a situation. Be smarter than that. You're the captain. Yeah. Which leads to my question, why is he the captain? If he already did that in the home opener. You've got Gringo Torres. He could be the captain. Why Eric Pimentel? Mm-hmm. When he has shown that he is not captain material, at least this season, for the team. It is a blatant disrespect what he's doing for his fellow teammates, like you said. They're trying really, really hard, for the most part, to get a game-winning goal, and he goes in and leaves, and you had an advantage of one player, and now you lose it, and you lose all the momentum. If I was the coach, maybe I can't fire him or I can't release him from this contract because of money issues, but I sure as hell would freeze him on the bench. And that is why I'm not a head coach anywhere. Because that is just a disrespect for the players and for you as coach. Because you're it's like the meme of the guy riding a bicycle and he himself puts a stick in the front tire, he flips, he falls, he gets hurt, and he's blaming someone else for him getting hurt. I mean, look at Eric Pimentel. Yes, everybody else has faults, but having a captain that puts you in these situations does not help at all. And if this is what being a leader is in RGV FC, by God, now I understand why we're in the situation we're at right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real quick. As for Mike, all I can say is watch the broadcast right at the end, because you do see Pimentel go in with his head. No matter what, if he was trying, it just seemed bad. But yes, to your point, Edson, you brought up a fantastic point. As a captain, you're supposed to be the captain and get your players out of there no matter what, to restart the game quickly, no matter what the deal is, to not start that conflict like that. That's not a captain move, to go and keep barking at other players that are barking. Like, no, that's not what you do in brawls. I don't care. You get your players out of there. Every good captain takes a player out and makes sure that they won't be the ones receiving a yellow card or anything like that to try to break it up. That's just the way it goes. And now if they do give him a yellow or red card, then that is completely the referee's fault. But this time, I don't think so. Yes, it happened in front of the Stampede, but also there's different camera angles that can show different angles than just our first-person views. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, but to be fair, the Stampede would have a better angle in it than the two cameras that are on top of the press box at HB Park. So I get where he's going with it. They might probably and let's not forget the production value of this broadcast have been subpar when it comes to directors and the cameras, and the direction of the cameras being shown on the broadcast. It has been terrible. From what it looks like, the bit rate has been terrible as well. When it comes to the resolution, the bit rate, the ability for the freaking broadcast not to drop frames, it's been terrible. It has been subpar, and that is not ESPN's fault. No. That is on RGV. If you recall last week, I said RGV, or not last week, but the week before, RGV controls the direction and the production of the broadcast.
Yeah.
So when you've got a broadcast that doesn't help with angles, and that's the only thing you have to look back on, and because of the direction, you miss exactly what's going on in the scrum because they're out there, taking a look at Taylor Davila, like finishing a celebration. And over here, when you get back to the scrum, the red card has already been shown to Eric Pimentel. We can only do so much. We can only try to rely on our memory. And like I said, maybe Mike has a better advantage. He didn't see a headbutt. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I still stand with my argument. Don't put yourself in that situation. Be the captain, be the better person, and help your team get back and continue to keep that momentum. And Costless Titan says, I say nothing bad about Pimentel in case I run into him at HEB, or he would headbutt me too. And then Abraham Moreno, that was actually pretty good. I need to get him. If I had money, I would pay him to be in charge of Down on the Valley social media, because he's got a repertoire of memes and video memes that have been hilarious. Abraham says Gringo was subbed off and gave the captain armband to Puma, if I recall correctly. Yes, you're right. Gringo was subbed off, but still, with more of a reason. You're the last experienced player on the pitch. With more reason, you need to avoid putting yourself in a situation when you're going to get sent off.
Yep.
Because you don't have Gringo in the field anymore.
Yeah, it sounds even worse now. It's that whole thing, realizing that Gringo was subbed off. It makes it even worse. And it doesn't matter. It shows where his level is at. It shows where he's at for this club. It's not good. It's not good.
And then Mike says, I want them to start Zurdo and then bring in Wilmer Jr. Maybe he will get that spark after being subbed in and get a goal and get his confidence back, because honestly, I think Wilmer doesn't have that dog. You're right. Yeah. I would bench him. Give the opportunity to local talent. And if Wilmer's not going to do it, maybe Zurdo getting an opportunity to, showcase himself in the USL Championship before he moves on and goes to University of Michigan. He might have the more motivation than Wilmer at this point. I agree with that. And then Michael continues, Wilmer doesn't have the dog in him right now. We need to sit him for a bit for he can open his eyes that he has the chance of a lifetime to show the other teams, maybe MLS, that he can play at that level and be a true number 9.
I agree.
Preach. That's all I'm going to say. Preach on. I think you're spot on, Mike. The other thing I wanted to talk about, just real quick, I don't want to get too involved in it. We already talked about Wilmer, so I'm going to skip the other quote. But there's a new rule that has been established by the International Football Association Board that has to do with the keepers. So apparently, there is going to be a new rule regarding goalkeepers during penalty shootouts effective July 1st. As per the new changes, goalkeepers will no longer be allowed to taunt the penalty takers in any way leading up to the spot kick. So, what does that mean? This means that the keeper cannot do this while he's on the line, or move like that, or hit the post, or any movement at all before the penalty gets kicked. Spot on or spot off?
I mean, yeah, you're not going to like this. I think spot on. Honestly, it's weird.
Why?
But also it's funny too, because half the time when a keeper does actually taunt the player ends up making the shot. So, yeah, the player ends up making the shot. So, in that sense, it doesn't make... It barely makes a difference, in my opinion.
Well, I disagree with you there. I think the final between Tigres and America in 2015 proves otherwise. The way Nahuel in the final penalty shootout, Nahuel got in the kickers' heads and made them all miss. All 3 of them miss using these kind of tactics. Why I am spot off? The penalty kick is already designed to be heavily favored for the kicker. And as time goes on, it seems like they're adding more and more an advantage to the striker than to the keeper. Now you're technically telling them you have to sit still on the line. I mean, you already can't, take a step forward, and try to get some of an advantage back to try to block the shot. Now you're limiting the little advantage that they could have had, which is the mental aspect, on the psychology and all of that, to try to get into the kicker's head. Now you can't do that anymore. What's next? The player, the goalkeeper can't even throw himself to save the penalty. If the penalty gets saved, is it going to be an indirect free kick? That's why I'm spot off. Why is it then that they don't enforce stutter steps or any kind of this little flaily steps that gives a bigger advantage to the player? Because then the goalkeeper can't anticipate when the ball is going to get hit. Why aren't, I mean, it's in the rule that they can't stop. There has to be one full motion and all of that, but it's not heavily enforced. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be heavily enforced. So as a amateur goalkeeper, as a fan of the position, I am biased. I will agree to I will admit that, but I am completely nokemaka. I am completely spot off on this new rule. This is going to be one of the dumbest rules that the IFAB has invented for the game. At this point, for penalty shootouts that are supposed to be to figure out a tiebreaker, I would rather have shootouts like the MLS shootouts, early MLS shootouts, where you actually have a 50-50 chance for both teams, the kicker and the goalkeeper. But that's just me.
Yeah. I like it. I like that rule. Half the time the stutter steps aren't even like they're in one full motion. Is how it seems sometimes. No, I get where you're coming from. Yes, they can't cross the line, which is completely fair. Watched a penalty shootout today. Ended 4-3. So yeah, I get where you're coming from. No matter what, there's going to be a lot of goals, but there are multiple saves. It's just I don't really. If it's like a regular penalty on the field, no matter what, in regulation or in an extra time period, half the time that taunt will not come from the keeper. Half the time it will be the back players trying to mess with them and trying to get in their head and take as much time as possible, and the keeper won't even have to do anything. So in that situation, the keeper, yeah, like I said, doesn't have to do anything, and it's only up to the player. So that's not going to stop. So
if it's for a punishment, for a foul inside the box, I can understand it more because it's supposed to be punishment. But if it's for tie-breaking purposes where it's not supposed to be punishment, why are you punishing the goalkeeper for trying to get back, trying to claw back at a disadvantage? That's what I'm trying to get. But it is what it is. They already implemented it. Let's see how long that lasts. But real quick before we go, because we're about to go into 2 hours, I apologize for everybody for keeping y'all this long on the show. But so this upcoming weekend, RGV will be traveling over to Detroit. They will be taking on Detroit City. They did lose 1-0 to Indy 11 this past weekend. From what I saw, it seemed like they played kind of like a 4-2-3-1 against Indy 11. However, according to John Morrissey of USL Tactics, they usually prefer a line of 5 or 3 center backs. I'm not sure why they used the 4-2-3-1 against Indy 11, but I mean that's just their coach's decision. They are currently 1 win and 2 losses in their first games. They lost 1-0 to San Diego. They defeated El Paso 3-1, and they lost, like I said, they lost 1-0 to Indy 11 at home. I don't have an analysis of how they play, and I sure as hell don't want to get involved with any drama with Detroit City FC fans, right? Because they're special. I'll just leave it like that. They've got this whole victim/hero complex that I think it's starting to get on everybody's nerves. So I will say this, guys, if you're listening right now, if during this next couple of days you do on Twitter or something, you've got Detroit City AFC fans trying to, push your buttons, ignore them. Don't give them the opportunity to play the victim to the rest of USL Twitter. I mean, at the end, I think USL Twitter's kind of had enough of their BS, so they don't have a lot of friends to begin with within the world of Twitter. But anyway, going back into the game, just going about what we know about RGV FC. Jacob, predictions, regular and bold predictions for this upcoming game against Detroit City.
Regular prediction, I think we win 2-1. We score 2 late goals to end up winning. And that is regular prediction. Bold prediction, you know what, let's just be safe and say there will be 9 players on each team from red cards. And it will be a Tyler Derrick goal, and they will have won 5-0. RGV FC.
Thank you so much, Sloth. He says going to be there supporting my Toros. Best of luck, man. So you're traveling to Detroit, I'm guessing, Sloth? So for me, my regular prediction, 2-0 loss. I don't have faith in right now in my attack. I just got to be honest. And I feel like our RGVFC has so far not allowed a lot of goals to be scored. But then again, there are some instances where defense, they play well for most of the game, but they make some terrible mistakes that leave them exposed and end up getting the goals against, or you have to rely on Tyler Derrick to make up saves. I think against Oakland he had 4 saves. 4 saves. This time he had 2. He also have a couple good saves against Las Vegas. So if Tyler Derrick isn't on his game, this is why I feel, since you're playing away, you're playing in the cold of Michigan. It is going to be a hostile atmosphere, that's for sure. I do have to commend Detroit City FC fans. They let their their home field be known that you are in hostile territory. They let their away team know that they're in hostile territory. So all of that I feel is going to be to the favor. So 2-0 loss for my regular prediction. Bold loss, you get a brace from Wilmer Cabrera Jr. And it's going to be a 3-1 victory for RGVFC. That is my bold prediction. And that just goes to say how much I don't trust in my offense at this moment. Harry says DCFC 0, RGVFC 0. Both teams struggle. Abraham says 2-0 loss for RGVFC as well. Mike says 2-1 loss. My dad says, I have always said that there are ways to win and to lose, but the attitude makes the difference. Costless Titan says his prediction, Detroit 2, RGV 1. Bold prediction, Wilmer Jr. actually scores a goal. That is very bold. Not as bold as me saying 2. Mike says bold prediction, Toros 3-0, Wilmer all 3. That is bold. That is really, really bold.
It's a hat trick on the road.
Yeah. Harry says bold prediction, RGV 2, DCFC 2 on a cold and windy day in Detroit. Or night. Yeah, a day in Detroit. I hope I'm wrong. But in everything I talked about today. But a lot of the roads are leading up for me to be a little bit more pessimistic, even though it's early in the season. So there's still time to reverse the situation. And I hope that whoever listens to it doesn't take it the wrong way, that I'm wishing the worst of this team. Just kind of letting you know that, you've got stakeholders that are that are watching this situation and are affected by it one way or another. Like Mike said, he has a freaking Toros tattoo on him. Like he loves this team so much. And I mean, I commend the players for trying to make the best out of this situation, but I hope it's a wake up call for whoever needs to hear it that things really need to be improved if they want to continue being a serious contender in the USL Championship. So, why is my phone all blown up? Man, that's a lot of text messages from. Just kidding. I'm fine. Just joking around. I have not been getting a call from anybody from front office or coaching staff or players yet. Although I wouldn't be surprised to get the David Faitelson treatment one day at HB Park for things I say here. But Jacob, any final thoughts before we leave?
Final thoughts. Real quick, actually. Let's see here. Detroit weather. Because I want to add something. If there is even, oh gosh, there is. But it's too hot for it to be. But don't expect it to be dry, is what I'm gonna say for that game. Even if it is raining at 6 a.m., there's a chance that it holds throughout that day on Saturday. So that's very exciting in just in general. Looking forward to the game. It should be very, very interesting. I can't wait. Hopefully it is a victory for RGV FC, of course. And let's hope for some improvement. Even if it's not necessarily a win, a draw on the road is still very good.
Mm-hmm.
And if we see improvements from Wilmer Cabrera Jr., from any other player like that, I'd be more than thrilled. Even if it is a 0-0 draw in the end, how was the defense looking? How was that? And I hope to hear a lot of positive on that note and see it with my own two eyes on TV. So it's going to be very interesting, and it could potentially be a wet one. So that's exciting too.
Yeah, but guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate everybody who hopped in today for these 2 hours. I want to everybody wish Alan Carrillo, give him a huge welcome, a huge 956 welcome, and hope to see you again in future episodes, Alan. And thank you so much, everybody, for your questions. I had some questions from our friend Shadow Wolf from Germany, but unfortunately, we were running out of time, so I couldn't get to those. So I hold them for next time. Harry Austin says, "Great show, guys. Happy WrestleMania weekend." Costless Titan says, "I love the Wilmer Jr. banter. It's all fun and games until I get pulled aside by a member of the coaching staff and get reprimanded for saying that Wilmer Jr. is a pecho frio like I did back in 2018. That was not a fun experience, to be honest, and I promised myself not to do that again. So I'm trying so hard. Not to continuously bash Wilmer Jr., but he is not helping me at all, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Alan Carrillo says, "Was that a good thing of the front office call?" Definitely not. I'm probably sure I've had it happen before where, they'd be all pissed because of something I said on the show. I think just recently, last season and preseason, I found out that member of the front office was extremely pissed because I called them out because they made the jersey reveal for sponsors and not for the fans. So it is what it is. I don't like it as much as I often rant and talk about the team. I don't like getting people mad at me because I don't like being confrontational at all. But I do feel like it's my duty to kind of point out when things aren't being done correctly for the fans, for the people here in the Rio Grande Valley, or even for the players. As much as I give them shtick when they do something wrong, but at the end of the day, you'll know that I'll stick up for them if they're doing something right, or, for example, they've got some situations, with mental stuff. I think I've a little bit more team than a couple years ago where I was really wild. There's my whole archives are there from 2017, 2018. Yeah, I was a lot worse, but upon, talking with players, interacting with them, knowing their stories, their backgrounds, all of that, it really kind of changes things. So that's why I hope that with Wilmer Jr., like, I really do hope he does well, as much as I criticize him, and but I understand that soccer is not the easiest job in the world, and you've got not only coaches' eyes on you to see you, to criticize you or anything like that, but you've got fans, you've got media, and all of that takes a huge mental toll. So I'm working hard, believe me, to be a little bit more lenient, but he has to improve as well. If he doesn't want me to call him out, I will continue working on that. But anyway, Alan, thank you, Alan. He says, "Don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in." I appreciate your words, man, and I will keep them in heart as well. Costas Titan says, "Front office and coaching staff is softer than our counterattack." Front office and coaching staff are softer than their counterattack defense. Ouch! Talk about a burn. I'm telling you, this guy's got the burn. I don't think I've seen a burn that effective since Saturday at the end of the truck race, when Zane Smith almost burned up his truck after winning.
Literally.
Yeah, literally after a burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're the Stephen A. Smith of the USL.
No, you don't want to be that. Next thing you know, bye everybody. I'm gonna be shipped out because he's gonna kick me off of this show.
And then I end up, getting a bunch of haters. And then just speaking stuff, just for the sake of trying to find some controversy. I mean, like I said, I try to be as biased as possible, but today I felt like it was the breaking point where I needed to kind of vent how I felt as a fan. And I think you all deserve for me to be, as unbiased as possible. And kind of, even if it means kind of playing devil's advocate on myself. That's the way I roll. But anyway, me ando despidiendo y todavía no me voy. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see each other next week. We're still not sure because there is going to be an Open Cup match next week against Tormenta FC. By the way, it has been confirmed that it will be broadcasted on South Georgia Tormenta FC's YouTube channel. I will be sharing the link later on Twitter and all my social media. Or if you guys follow Shadow Wolf, he did share it with us as well. So you'll be able to watch the Open Cup match there. It is going to be at 6:30 in the afternoon on next Wednesday. It should be enough time to maybe do a show after the game, or a post game or something. We don't know 100%. We'll have to check our schedule. But we're gonna aim for next Saturday, a post game show to talk about the Detroit game, the Open Cup game. If not, we will see each other next Thursday here on Facebook, Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch as well. Guys, thank you all for your support. Jacob, thank you so much for hopping on for 2+ hours. And we will see you all next week for another episode of the Down on the Valley podcast. Have a good night.